October 13th Finance Committee meeting. Our agenda tonight would be, we've been at a joint meeting with the select board. Now we'll discuss the FY22 budget process plan, do any warrant article review that's necessary for upcoming town meeting, review department assignments, public input, member updates, then minutes, and then we will adjourn. I apologize, guys. I didn't know that we were going to be doing Article 1 or the additions to the other article with the select board tonight, but that worked out okay. Was there anything else that you wanted to ask Cheryl about the FY22 budget process that you didn't get to discuss with the select board, or that you felt, oh, Gary, I like your background. Very studious.
I took a little bit of abuse for the last one. You know, I was trying to be festive and I just got buried, so.
Oh, Gary. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Tyler?
No, I mean, no specific questions. I mean, I like the approach, right? I mean, I think it gives us options to, you know, it's starting from the right foot of being super conservative with the hopes that things stay stable, right? And then it gives us, you know, at least we've planned for some upside. But I mean, I think, you know, realistically, it's definitely where we should be starting from. I think, you know, we're gonna have more surprises before we're out of this thing.
Yeah, I liked it. I think it was well thought out, and it's cautious. I like that with the so much uncertainty going on at the moment. Any other comment about that?
I think you guys are right on. I think the conservative approach is the best approach given the times and the uncertainty. So good job, Cheryl, putting that together, and
thank you.
Glad that we all agreed with it.
Me too.
I agree with that too. I guess my question is based on the process itself. I mean, are there any improvements or changes we're making from last year? Because last year we did some things differently, and I just wonder if there were kind of like notes to self or learnings. We said, well, let's do something next year, maybe a little bit different. And I don't have anything in particular that I thought of. I just wondered if there was something.
I mean, the only feedback that I received as far as kind of changes was getting the select board kind of in the budget process earlier in the, you know, and so that they could discuss one of their recommendations was to have them, you know, meet with department heads to discuss their priorities and how that would then maybe shape any budget for that department head. That was the only kind of feedback that I received in thinking about the process last year. I mean, I think it went very smooth, so there wasn't really anything that stuck out to me that we would want to change, but I'm certainly open to that if anyone has any adjustments that they want to make. I think it's going to be, you know, last year we had a couple of meetings with the chair of the finance committee, school committee, and select board kind of, you know, throughout these months. And I think that's going to be even more important this year. So, you know, as far as the change in process, maybe just more of those meetings. Because, you know, as we saw last year, it's a pretty dynamic budget process after February. And I think it will be a similar exercise this year, but just earlier on. So, but I'm, you know, open to anything that anyone wants to change going forward.
No, I saw on the schedule. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go. Finish it up.
I was just gonna say I saw on the schedule that the select board is now meeting with the department heads, and I didn't think I'd seen that before. So I think that's great because we always wanted their input. We always thought things were kind of backwards on some of that stuff, that people put stuff together and then they'd hear, well, that's not what we had in mind. So, yeah, I think that's a good something. It's just like something blew up outside, or was it lightning? I'm not sure. Big flash and then boom. Sorry, looking out the window. So anyway, that's good. And I think last year it was a more collaborative process, I think, with the select board and the Fincom than I'd seen in my years here. So I certainly would like to see that continue, and it sounds like it will be, and even more so. So that's great.
The only thing I would like to mention, Cheryl, is as we go deeper into the planning for next year, towards the annual town meeting, in the past, many times, we've ended up looking at proposed warrant articles and giving our recommendation on Tuesday after the selectmen went over them on Monday and already voted them. That bothers me. I think that I would rather see the selectmen have in hand what the finance committee felt about the article, whether we were going to recommend it or not recommend it before they took it up. Now, that happened several times last year. Me and you try to make sure that doesn't happen this time.
Sure.
We could schedule our meetings, we could reschedule. It's easier for us to do than the select board.
Right.
So if something's gonna come up like that, let's get first bite at the apple, so the select board they understand how we feel about it, where we're coming from, and whether we're ready to approve or recommend an article before they actually do a final vote.
Okay.
Okay? That was my big thing from last year.
That's a great recommendation, Alan. Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. They should know where we're coming from before they vote.
Yeah, I'll add that I think somehow continuing to keeping the school committee involved. We got a little bit contentious last year. I think I found that when there's a lot of money in the town and we're doing well, I think everybody wants to be pulling at that. But now, where we're pretty much at a situation where we have to just say no. The pandemic hit. Everybody's aware of it, so there's not as much discussion. But I think we have to continue to be proactive with that, with the schools especially, because that's just such a large part of what we do. And just staying creative, meeting with them, like Cheryl said, routinely as much as possible with the chair of the select board, Alan, I think would go a long way, just so we're not going to get blindsided, come March with something that, popped up. The only other thing I would add is sitting in on a lot of the town administrator interviews. I was going to save this for member updates too, but I realize how lucky Littleton is, even though we're under a financial strain right now. This can go south really quick, and we looked at a lot of communities, and I think Greg can attest to this, that it did go south from this, and they're really struggling, and they're overrides are right there in front of them, and so I think it's something, and we continue to be very good stewards, but just a reminder, I think, after sitting through some of those interviews and listening to some of these town administrators talk about what they've been through, we have a very strong team, and I think we just got to keep it going.
Yeah, and just to pile on to that, Gary, I mean, we heard from one of the folks that interviewed, said very jealous of having a AAA bond rating in Littleton. It seems like, and I'll use the other phrase, the blue chip town to work in, it seems very desirable place to live and a desirable place to work. So.
Good. Anything else on the budget process? If not, we'll move to warrant article review. We did most of that in our joint meeting with Article 1, but we do have Article 11, which was the smart sewer design and construction funding, which we haven't done a recommendation on yet. So what are your thoughts, folks?
Alan, what's the number again on that?
2.5 million.
Yeah, it's
And we don't know what the final number is for the project, right? Or we know and they're not not telling us, or what's the deal there?
Well, Cheryl, what's the latest as far as you're concerned?
I have, nothing's been shared with me.
They don't share anything with you.
No,
How about with Steve?
no.
So,
I don't know, Greg. The last thing I heard them say was that they've shrunk the project down now to a standard sewer as opposed to the CERT thing. And I guess they've adjusted where they're going to actually put the lines in first, although they're not discussing that yet. And they're just going to put the treatment plant up at the high school for 2.5 million. As I talked to Cheryl a week ago at least, there's some $4 million that the town meetings, the last 2 or 3, have allocated to them for design and one thing or another. According to Cheryl's accounting with the bills coming in, very little of that has been spent. So I really don't know where it is.
I know, I remember Nick speaking to us a little bit about this is really money kind of to jump forward because they are working through that 4 million. So that I think they're just trying to think ahead. They didn't want to run into a situation where that 4 million ran out mid-year, and it sounded like they're planning, but it would be nice to really lock them down maybe this fall at one of our meetings on what we're looking at, how big of a nut is this going to be for us that we have to crack. But I also think that the new design is, they learned a lot from the old. Who was the old, I guess, contract we used with it? Wesson and Sampson, right?
Yeah.
Sampson, what? Yeah.
That completely was a debacle with them that fell through. But I can't think of the new team that's on that took it over. They're able to work with some of those plans with the smart sewer and the quirk and all those things. At least they got a good idea of what our town layout looks like from those designs, but they had to really throw away a lot of the stuff that they had developed because it just wasn't going to work with what they're trying to do now. So let's be honest.
It's not like all of us didn't tell them that.
Right.
We told them that 2 years ago.
I know.
Nick even acknowledged a lot of the stuff that Fred said. They were like, yeah, well, Fred told us that. And
right.
Yeah.
Constantly, every meeting. Yeah.
This is becoming the new norm. We have a seat at the poker table and you got to ante up $2.5 million for some sort of a design. We saw it with the library. We didn't have the final cost there. We saw it, not saying it was $2.5 million, but there was a sum of money that we had to pony up, not knowing the final cost. My concern is at that point you're already pot committed. You're in the game, so you got to play the hand out. So it's kind of not being transparent with the taxpayers. That's where I kind of go sideways on.
So the only thing I will say and I actually just verified with Joe that they haven't provided the final number because I know he's on the sewer working group meeting. So I just was asking him if they had mentioned it there. But he said no. I do believe though that when, and I think Nick did bring this up when he came to speak with everyone, that there's certain upgrades that they'll have to make to the high school.
Existing.
Yeah, anyway. And so that the 2.5 million, even if they do nothing, like if the town decides to not do any kind of sewer system, will have to be spent just for the existing sewer system that the town buildings are on.
Yeah, that's my understanding too.
That's better.
Yeah.
And I think Joe's going to be one of our best resources. He's got familiarity with this type of project anyway, from his background. So I think we'll probably be able to rely on a lot of information from him as well. So.
So I guess he just let me know they're still working to evaluate the assumptions and costs. So
Yeah. Well,
So-
to Greg's point, that's been happening routinely for the last few years. It's grade creep.
Yeah.
It's a million here, a million here. Pretty soon you're up to 5 or 6 million, and you got to throw it all away if you don't do the project. So
We're going to be all in, Alan, very soon. I mean,
yeah,
everyone has a breaking point, right? This is like poker. We're pushing the chips in really quick here. And
yeah.
so I think.
Well, I know this is the number one goal of the select board, so it's going to go from them.
Well, what makes it a little more palatable is what Cheryl had said, where, this money, if for some reason the town gets sticker shock and says, hey, no way, at least this 2.5 million is going to go towards it making improvements at the high school for the existing system anyway. So it's not like it's bad money, unlike another project where you're putting a design forward for something else and it just turns out to be that's the project and that's what you're into it. So there is an out there, I guess, if that shines a little light on the subject.
Yeah, but Cheryl, so the Article 2, this is a borrowing authorization that's going to be repaid by ratepayers and a grant, right? Is that
Correct. Which, currently the only ratepayer is the town, but
Yeah.
yes. But yes.
Welcome, Mr. Ratepayer.
But you're
We are the
correct,
ratepayers.
Tyler.
$1.5 million is a grant, and then a potentially $1 million was being allocated to the ratepayers.
Correct.
Is it contingent? Has the grant already been awarded, or is this?
Yes, and that's the other reason why they're putting this Article 4, because we have a deadline with that grant. And they've already actually had it extended at least once, if not twice. And so, they needed to do some work for us to be able to get that money. And so they thought, putting it towards the existing system made sense, because then it's work that, like I said, regardless of what happens, if they do a sewer system, it's still needed work anyway.
Okay, but okay. But of the two,
Glad to hear we still have that money. I was afraid that was somehow tied to the cork and doing all the fancy whiz bang stuff. And then when we walked away from that, we were walking away from that money as well.
No, they still have that, and they really do want to use that. So I think that's motivation of, they're also being cautious and not trying to just throw an article out there when they don't feel comfortable with it either. So it's a careful balance.
Do we know how much money has gone into this so far?
How many articles you voted for the sewer system so far?
Yeah, and what the total dollar value is that's already been committed?
Alan did ask me that, so let me see if I can.
It was about 4.5 when you and I talked about it, Cheryl.
Okay.
And so this would be an additional 2.5.
And what are we guessing about 27 million for the project, or is it going to be more than that?
Well, the last figure I heard anybody mention overall was 30 million plus. But that was back when they were still talking about the CERT and all that. So whether it's gone down, I don't know. But it seems to me that it should be easier to talk to us about these things. We're talking about it now. We're finding out a little bit of information. Cheryl finds out some things. I mean, they could just tell us, look, we've pulled the project back. We're going to do this. We're not going to spend that. The reason we're doing it, I don't even think it's general knowledge that what they're going to do at the high school is to improve the current system that we have. They speak in all kinds of water purification, and it's going to help the water supply, blah, blah, blah. But they never get right down to explaining to us in layman's terms what you're going to get for the dollars, what we're actually doing. And I don't expect that this forum that they have tomorrow night is going to help matters any either.
So sorry, just to jump back to your original question, Tom. Total authorized before the 2.5 million was 4.1 million, and as of about a month ago, they had 3.6 million unspent.
And didn't we allocate money for the purchase of property?
Yes, that includes that.
Yeah.
I think we have to remember too, this was put on the water department kind of late in the game. Remember when it shifted from town to that? So they're new at this too. This is new to the community, but also new to the water department trying to develop a group to manage this. So I think it's, but you're right, being just a little bit more talkative with us or getting the word out. Alan, you just brought up a good point about, I didn't know that money was going to be used for the design at the high school. I mean, that would be something that they're probably going to have to say that at town meeting for sure. At least mention that in their discussion.
That gives you a reason why you're doing it, a reason that the average guy can understand. Just don't ask him how much more money it's going to cost us to process our water from town than it was costing us before. So I know that's going to go up.
Yeah, and not only that, if part of that money that we allocated was for land that they're probably not going to need now, then they need to say that too. Right? You approve this much money for land, but we're probably never going to spend that for that. If that's true.
It's some expensive poop.
Oh, well, any other comments?
Let's just flush this one and get it over.
Dun, dun.
Do I have a motion of any kind?
Let's let Greg should do it.
Do the movement
Yeah,
there, Greg.
I'll make
Make a movement.
I'll make the motion to approve the article as written.
Are we going to approve or are we going to recommend?
Or
What are we doing?
recommend. Or recommend.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to recommend approval. And I have a second. Roll call vote. Greg,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Betsy,
Yes.
Alan, yes. We're informal at our meeting. It was. All right,
Yeah,
moving
well,
right
I
along.
think the message though should come along with this to just
I'm
be
sorry?
more transparent. Give us more ammunition so we can stand behind it versus questioning everything.
So Alan, I don't know if you guys voted on Article 10, the PFAS article, because I don't think we had that number.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
According to your handout, we did.
Okay.
That's the PFAS.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
not the sewers, PFAS.
Right.
We did.
Okay.
Wasn't that like that was a pretty hefty number, wasn't it?
Oh, it's going to
17.
be a big one. It's going to be 30 million.
This one's a $17 million article.
On the PFAS?
right.
Yeah.
There was a previous one for 13, I think.
Mhm.
Going to be a biggie. But the ratepayers are paying for it. But when you stop to think that the ratepayers and the taxpayers are the same people. So when someone tells you, oh, it's not going to raise your taxes, the ratepayers are going to pay for it. But it's a mandate from the state. It's going to make our water better, and there's nothing much we can do about it. So I'll fight the battles I can actually have some input on. This one I don't feel
Meanwhile,
like I do.
40% of us are still on well water. We'll be drinking it.
Oh, yeah, there. Okay, Gary, I except for Gary, the rest of us will be paying more. Department assignments, everybody's got those. I sent those out before. Looking at Cheryl's time line. So sometime as you have the time and the inclination during November and December, make sure that you get a hold of the departments that you're responsible for, get an idea of what they're looking for, an idea of what their plans are, help them if you can, and bring that information back to us.
I've done my interviews, so I've got my notes.
Good boy. Good.
Hey, shining us up there, Tom.
I know. Jeez.
You know,
I
I
noticed-
told me to hold off. I held off.
Done early too this year.
Sounds like someone's looking to be chair next year.
Oh, do you think? All right, public input. Tyler, anything?
No, I'm looking forward to getting into the budget process and kind of going through the new way of doing it, right? I mean, it's so different from what I remember. It'll be a good learning experience for me. I'm sure I'll have some thoughts and ideas once I experience it.
Thank you. Gary?
We do have a town meeting Saturday, right?
Or Sunday.
It's going to be Sunday. I was looking at, it's going to be 80% rain Saturday. That decision should be made earlier.
Yeah.
They should probably call that really soon. But yeah,
It's
it
only
just seemed
Tuesday.
weird. I looked
There's
at the
no change
calendar
in
like,
weather forecast. I don't know.
I was like, wait, that's this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sort of sneaks up on you, doesn't it?
Hey, Gary, can you talk about the process where we are in terms of the new town administrator?
Yeah, I mean, Greg's really your rep. I got voted on the personnel board, but I'll gladly do it as well.
Or Greg, either one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we go ahead, Greg.
So I mean, we interviewed 6. So what we have 27 resumes that were submitted, and from that we interviewed 6 candidates. There's 3 good candidates that we recommended that the selectmen interview. So we're bringing forward 3 solid candidates to the select board.
Good.
It was a good process. It was quick. It was efficient. Worked really well. I mean, we did it, all the interviews in 2 nights last week. Got that taken care of. So basically our charter's done. I mean, we've got to turn in our paperwork and everything, but we're pretty much done with this process on our side. And it's just up to the selectmen to make their interviews and choices.
And Cheryl, you want to tell us about the new treasurer?
Oh, yeah. I'd love to. So we have a new treasurer assistant finance director starting Monday and a new assistant treasurer starting on Monday. So,
Oh,
yeah, both the same day. So we really, probably similar to what Greg and Gary were saying as far as the candidates for the town administrator search for both. We were very lucky. We got some really good candidates. The treasurer comes to us from Natick. He was the assistant finance director there. He's been working in municipal financial government since he graduated from college. He has his master's in public administration, has a strong analysis background, but he's also one of those individuals that just got pulled into a lot of different types of projects because he's just a really easy to work with. So he's actually done some things that are more on the treasurer side, which you wouldn't have really expected looking at his resume. I think he's going to be a great fit with the team as well too. Really easygoing, but professional. And then the assistant treasurer comes to us from private sector. She's a strong accounting, payroll, HR background. And again, very high energy, another real team player. So we're excited to have both of them start.
and is she taking Ann's spot?
Ann's assistant treasurer spot, yes.
Yeah. And then have we found the HR replacement?
Yeah, she actually started 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
Bridget, the HR manager. So, yep, she's here
She actually was the lead HR on the town administrator search.
Oh, okay.
She jumped right in, and she was. So yeah, she was great. So yeah.
Great.
And then we have an offer out to an assistant assessor as well too. Another, good personality, good addition, was the clear, strongest candidate out of the pool. But again, we had a strong pool for that as well too. So Right now, I can't remember what her tentative start date is. I think it's in like a week and a half. So should be a lot of new faces at town hall in the next couple weeks.
Wow.
Sound like we're hiring while our town is hot, so to speak.
Right.
A few of you that have been around longer than me on this committee probably say probably wasn't the case 15 years ago. People were trying to bail out of here.
It's definitely a different time now, for sure. Yeah, and it's also timing, right? I mean, we've had a lot of folks that have been working for town for quite a while, and they're moving on to different things, retiring, whatnot, and it's a great time to be working in Littleton. As I said earlier, Gary and I heard it. There's definitely TAs in other towns that would really like to be in Littleton, and it's a great feeling. I mean, never really thought about it that way. And you walk out of these interviews and you're like, wow, we really do live in a good town. So it's a good feeling. Should be proud.
Yeah.
Everyone should be proud.
I could have told you that.
Hey, I'm a townie, man. I mean, I just don't have the experience outside of Littleton. I only know Littleton. I don't have any bad exposure to anything else.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
Live forever.
Who did I miss? Oh, Tom, you got anything?
No. I'm looking forward to another seamless budget process. I loved what we did the last time.
Betsy?
Oh.
Greg?
Good.
Me either. I was going to ask for public input, but I don't think we have any public, do we, Dave? I did see a name up there.
I don't think so. Yeah.
All right. Minutes from our last meeting, which was, who can even remember, 2 weeks ago,
Was it 2 weeks ago?
at least.
3
I can't find my minutes.
weeks.
Not
ago.
very well organized.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Did everybody get a copy?
From the 15th, Alan? Is that the last one? I'm trying to see if I have one.
Marilyn, are you there?
Yeah, from the 15th. That's the last one I have.
Maryland's probably in Iceland right now. Just
It should be September 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah, September 15th.
Yep.
Okay.
Any comments, questions about that? Corrections? You have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes of September 15th. All in favor, say aye. Greg?
Aye.
Gary?
I
Tyler?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Betsy?
I wasn't there.
Thank you. And me. They are approved, even if Betsy wasn't there. Any other comment that anyone has before we take up the adjournment process?
Next meeting, Mr. Chair? Next meeting?
Yes.
Next meeting?
Next meeting, 2 weeks,
2 weeks.
unless notified
27th.
sooner.
Saturday.
Or Saturday, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, there's Saturday too,
And we're
or
not,
Sunday, depending.
we're not meeting early, are we? We don't have any.
No, we don't have any reason to meet early. I want to expose us as little as I can. I want to get it done tonight, so.
The 27th, Mr. Chair, is our next meeting, scheduled tentatively.
Okay.
Besides ATM or STM, sorry.
The 27th?
Yep.
At
Yep.
7 on your Zoom, on your local Zoom.
Awesome.
Cheryl, as soon as you get any update from someone, relative to whether they're going to cancel Saturday and go for Sunday, would you let us know right away?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think they're gonna make the decision tomorrow.
Okay, all right. If there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Sure.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the Finance Committee adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Greg,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Betsy, who is here, and Alan. Thank you much. Talk to you later, guys. See you Saturday.
There,
Great week.
See you
See ya.
Saturday. Well, hopefully Sunday.